Hello everyone. We're going to try something completely different today. I'm going to try to show you a little overview of what is undoubtedly a forgotten piece of computer technology history. For those of you who don't know, and I'm assuming that's nearly all of you, this is an old Toshiba Tecra 780CDM laptop from circa 1997, I want to say. I'm probably wrong on that. Feel free to correct me if you happen to know better than I do. But yeah, it's an old laptop from Toshiba. It has been in the family since it was new. My grandfather used to use this for work all the time, and I took it from him about a year ago or so, as he was doing nothing with it, so I decided I would play with it. Given its age and its rather regular working history, don't run it very much, considering it's probably a bit more fragile than it was back in the day. However, it's still a pretty chunky machine, quite literally, as you can tell. Number one, have a look at the thickness on that. I mean, obviously it's folded right now, so this section up top is the monitor, but still, I mean, that chassis is thick. It's about an inch and a quarter or so, I would say. However, this is a really cool machine, and I like it for a lot of different reasons. I tend to think it has a lot of features on it that you just don't see on laptops and really computers in general anymore these days. It has a lot of really interesting and in a lot of ways pretty innovative solutions on board, which really give this machine a bit of character, and believe it or not, still gives it quite a little bit of usability, even though it is umpteen years old. If it is from 97, whatever, 16, 17 years old. I'm not very good at math, in case you're wondering. But anyway, let's have a look at the outside first of all. As you can tell, it's folded up. The front panel here, you've got your volume knob, volume adjuster, for your onboard speakers. Yes, they had them back then. Those of you who might have been born after 97, my god, I feel old. Anyway, yep, volume adjuster, it's a little knob. Lowers the volume, raises the volume, you get how that works. Status lights. In front, the lighting in here is not the best, I apologize. But status lights for power connection. If the machine's on, that's your on status. Battery indicator. That'll range anywhere from green to yellow, I believe, if you've got a dying battery. Not quite sure where that one is. It's a picture of a battery. It's quite disturbing. Hard drive access and disk drive access. So you see these two lights will be flashing quite a bit when the machine starts to run. We will start it up here in just a few minutes. Very mysteriously placed reset button. Not quite sure what that is. I'm not sure if it's focused on it, but that's clearly marked reset, and it looks like you would stick a pen in there, much in the style of an old Game Boy. My god. That's about it on the front panel. Go to the right side first. Here you've got input for what I believe to be some sort of phone modem, something. There's a picture of a phone right there. Again, you probably can't see it because I'm being lit from behind, I understand, and the lighting is terrible. But yeah, not quite sure what that jack is. I'm not bothering to count the pins. If you can see them, I know this video isn't the highest resolution, but if you can see them and you can count them, do tell me what that is. I'd be ever so interested. Next, this is a phone line input. I know exactly what this is. This is a phone jack, 4-pin phone connector. Up until, I want to say, about 2 years ago, this thing was actually still browsing the internet dial-up style with my grandfather, who still refuses to join the 21st century. And you know what? I say good on him. Next, this port here. This is for something special I'm going to show you later on. But little slide exposes that little interesting bit of heaven. Yes, I won't tell you what that is quite yet. And then, of course, you've got your optical drive, standard CD-ROM. Over on the left side, you've got this greatly discolored access panel here, which flips down to reveal your slots for your PCM, Ethernet cards, the little tabs that you would use to eject them. Oh, that is so 90s. If you're a 90s kid like myself, a lot of this stuff doesn't seem all that foreign to you, but if you are one of the millennials or the near millennials, you probably have never seen one of these. Yep, that's what you used to do if you wanted high-speed internet. And by high speed, I'm speaking relatively, naturally, of course. Close that up. Second access panel. Flip that down. 2 USB ports. This machine was built in the days before USB became as ubiquitous as it is now, so most modern machines have at least 2 ports, if not 4 to 6, even 8. I think my Dell desktop that I make most of my other videos on, the R-Factor videos and whatnot, that thing has 8 USB ports. And down here, this is your port for your external drive, be it a floppy or a CD. And this is your exhaust port for the supplemental cooling fan. The machine only has one fan, however it's a passive fan. It doesn't operate whenever the machine's on. It's on a temperature sensor, and it comes on whenever the machine gets a little bit too hot. This actually still works, and it's actually quite comforting to know. Moving to the back, all sorts of ports here for a whole range of things, most of which I'm not entirely sure what they're for. Start over here, we have ports for microphone and digital speaker outputs in no particular order. I have no idea which ones actually do which, but I know that's what these would be used for. Keyboard and mouse, again in no particular order, and I believe this is an out for S-Video, but I'm not entirely sure. I believe you could have connected it to a contemporary TV with that port right there. This panel flips down. Got your, now I'm really going 90s, you got your Sega Genesis style controller connects. No, they're not for video game controllers. They were all sorts of accessories which you could have had on this thing, be it a printer, fax machine, anything like that. Could have gone into these ports, I assume. Again, I've never actually seen this thing running in its glory days. Flip down. Is this your 24 pin? This would have been for a printer, I believe. I'm not sure what those would have been for. Do tell me again if you know. And of course back here, the 2 flaps, which wouldn't have operated this way in the day. But this is a connection for what they call a docking station. And I don't know if any contemporary machines use that anymore, but what the docking station was, it enabled you to run your laptop as if it were a desktop, in the sense that one connection via that panel there enabled your machine to be connected to your keyboard, mouse, printer, modem in some cases, all through that one port. And it was this device which they call a dock, and the machine would sit on top of the dock like so. You can even see where there are 2 ports under the machine where it would clip in, and the machine would sit on top of it, and you would be connected to your printer or everything else as normal when the machine's on your desk. But then if you wanted to leave, take your machine with you, let's say you were going on business travel, you flip a little lever, machine comes up off the dock, you don't have to unplug anything, you just pull one lever, grab it and go. So that was a pretty cool thing, again totally 90s. We'll flip the machine over and show you some of the gizmos and gadgets we've got underneath. Again, the lighting is terrible. I'm going to try to do something about that. Not that much better, but we'll contend. Flip it this way so the labels are right side up. Yep, all your original labels, stickers, whatever you want to call them. 780 CDM 5.1 system unit. So glad they updated it from 5.0. Whatever, I don't even know if there was a 5.0. There probably wasn't. Oh yes, lots of patents. And the FCC is aware of his existence. That's very nice. It contains nickel, cadmium, nickel metal hydride, and or lithium-ion battery. Oh yes. It actually does. I have it over there. And let's see, what else? Two props over here, spring-loaded. Flip them up. They have a nice little ping to them when they're released. It just props the machine up, sits it at a bit of an angle for better cooling, or to be honest with you, because there really are no vents down here, probably for better comfort in terms of usability when you're typing on the actual keyboard on the machine itself. So, flip them down for the moment. Turning it back over this way. Here's where we start to get into some of the very interesting hardware features that these machines had. This here is underneath this is your hard drive, and a very interesting idea that Toshiba had back then. I've only seen this on other Toshiba machines. It is your hard disk, yes, but they call it a hard disk pack, and it's a 5.1 gigabyte drive. It's an IBM drive. The exact specification, if you're interested, it's an IBM DPLA 25120. That is the specification of the drive. It is 5.1 gigabytes, as you can see. I have tried to take this apart, and to be honest with you, after removing those two screws, and the back panel does come off, but there's actually quite a bit of resistance to be met with even when you take those screws off. So I've shied away from trying to open this thing up at all, because I'm probably never going to be able to find another one. Spare parts for these old machines are very hard to come by. So that is what it is, but yeah, it's a hard disk pack. So no, you can't just go and insert the disk into another machine and get up and running again. You see it's got the proprietary connector hooking into the motherboard there. So yeah, disk swap outs between Toshiba machines. Even between Toshiba machines, it's not that easy. I have another Tecra. It's a 550 CDT, that one. And the disk packs are not interchangeable between these two machines, the CDM and the CDT. So be that as it may, disk swaps really don't happen, at least in terms of hard disks. And now I gotta get it back into position with one hand. Wish me luck. There we go. So that clips into place. You notice the modular nature of everything. There's a clip. Clips back, you know it's securely locked into place. Same thing over here with the CD drive. Again, there it is, perfectly integrated, no problems. Yet you go underneath and you have this switch. Flip it this way, red tab comes up, tells you it's unlocked. Oh, yes. Here's where the millennial generation will really be dumbfounded. Flip that up, like so. Show you that action a bit better. There you go. Push it down, and yes, if you were ever so inclined to change your optical drive out for whatever it may be, there it is. There is your CD-ROM drive, completely intact. The port into the motherboard there. This is the original drive, which shipped with the machine as far as I'm aware, manufactured in June 1998. Rather impressive, I must say. Serial numbers, yes, class 1 laser product. And I love how everything has to be in English and German. Even though it's made in Japan. Very curious. However, what that really enabled you to do, and back in the 90s it was actually a quite useful thing to be able to do, was, if we look over here, this is an original external drive carrier. Again, original to the machine. Toshiba made, of course. This is, right now, it's fitted with a 3.5 floppy drive. However, just like the machine itself, they enable you to have a little bit of fun and play around. So, tab down here, press that, tab up here, press that. Oh, what have we done? Yes. Floppy drive, removed. No labeling on this one, unfortunately, but I assume it's of similar vintage to the CD-ROM. So actually I'll show you the empty carrier now. Just same connector as there would have been on the motherboard, running through this proprietary cable connecting into the side of the machine that I showed you earlier. But the really interesting thing is, here's the floppy drive that I just took out of the external there. If we get it the right way around, yes we have, put it into the bay, and you clip it in if you wanted to. I'm not going to clip it in because I'm just going to put the CD-ROM back together, but that's what you could do. It will operate this way, and you could have a CD or a floppy, whichever your heart desired. If you had a heart in '97, oh yes. But anyway, that's how that would have worked. And I like the ability to swap things out. For instance, on a lot of newer machines you have these drives that are seemingly put into place permanently. So if you ever lose a drive, guess what? You're talking about expensive repair bills. This, a couple switches, pops out, and it's back in business. Over here, this is the original battery, and it doesn't really hold a charge anymore, but it is the original battery. It's that lithium-ion version that they were talking about on the label. So yeah, again, English and German on a Japanese product. Lovely. Sensor to tell the machine it's in place, and of course the pad to transmit the power. And again, you notice how big the battery is, and it's actually quite weighty. I assume it weighed a little bit more in the day because I'm fairly certain that some of the reactants have probably evaporated at this point. There's no leaking anywhere, it's still very well sealed given its age, but it's pretty much flat. But this is what it was. Dropped in place. Satisfactory click when it goes in, and you get this little locking tab again. Not that this thing is going to come out, because in order to eject it you have this little lever here. Flip it and you see it shoots the battery up. But little locking tab, flip it down, and now your battery truly is not going anywhere anytime soon. Flip the machine back over, and we'll show you underneath. There's your monitor. I believe it's a 12-inch monitor. Maybe it's an 11.5, don't really know. I don't know how they measured them back then. I don't know if they did the diagonal nonsense that they do today, but using today's logic, it's around 12 inches. And it also appears to be a perfect square. Interesting. A lot of machines now have rectangular screens. Pretty standard keyboard. Nothing really to write home about. You can see it's a full function keyboard. It's pretty much full size as well. It's like, I'd call it, you know, probably 95-98% of a normal sized keyboard. With the exception of you have a different arrangement for your home page up and down buttons, and of course end. But for the most part, it does everything that you'd expect a keyboard to do, with the exception of, and a lot of actually desktop keyboards have these now with the FN to allow you to have a second function to a key. And that would really only work for your function keys, particularly on this machine, 1 through 5. Although you can also use it for your number pad, which, as you can see there, the white lettering. In terms of keyboard feel, again, not a whole lot. It's a little bit more robust than contemporary laptop keyboards. I know a lot of you like to hear the click of the keys as it's going along. It gives you a sense of how well it's built. I mean, it's plastic. It feels a little bit like cheap plastic in a lot of ways, but at the same time it doesn't, because I'm sure age has actually been quite kind to this machine, so could be just nostalgia on my part, because again, I remember it when it was pretty much new, but not too bad. Something you hardly ever see anymore. Actually, I don't know if you ever see this anymore, because touchpads on laptops have become ubiquitous. Notice there's no touchpad. These two buttons are mouse buttons, so this is equivalent to your left mouse button, and this is your right mouse button. This is a a little joystick. This is your cursor. So in other words, up, down, left, right, and all directions in between. It's actually pretty sensitive. It works very well. And this is how I'll be actually using the machine once we get it running. So other than that, I think it's pretty much time to turn it on. I think I've showed you everything that I've wanted to. Other than that, just quick specs, I guess. Again, I told you about the hard drive. It's a 5.1 gigabyte drive. However, its formatted capacity is 4.77 gigabytes. The iPod Touch that I'm using to shoot this video right now has considerably more storage capacity. I'm sure the video file itself is going to be around 4.77 gigabytes, if not bigger. It's probably bigger already, especially if I shoot it at 720p. The processor, it's an Intel Pentium 2, as you can see, and it's Energy Star certified. Ooh, I feel green. There you go, Tecra 780CDM. And actually, that little Intel Inside sticker has survived quite well over the years. It's actually got a little bit of a holographic quality to it in certain lights, but you probably can't see that there. It's certainly very reflective. Of course, the Toshiba branding again. Speakers. Over here, this is your microphone. So, yep, you can voice record and everything else you want. But, yep, Intel Pentium 2 processor. RAM. This will really get some laughs. The total RAM capacity on this machine, 130.6 megabytes. Yes, megabytes. So 13% of a gigabyte, if my math is good, which it's not. Again, I don't know what the RAM on an iPod Touch is, but I assume it's more than that. Or if it's not, they must run it very efficiently with what it does have. But, yeah, RAM on this, hardly any to speak of. Although in its day, it's what it was. People weren't running really high graphics, high performance applications, at least on machines like this. Those were pretty much professional machines only which were doing those kinds of crazy things. I mean, if I were to try to run R-Factor on it, I think it would just catch fire. But to be honest, the machine is actually quite good for what it is. So, gonna get it running. The original power supply, again, Age has also treated this very nicely. It's an AC adapter. It outputs 15 volts at 3 amps. So yeah, all the electrical mumbo jumbo, I don't know if you can understand that, because I certainly can't. And now they're warning me in English and French that it's an electric shock hazard. Merci. So yeah, enough messing around, we'll get this thing running.